Good morning/afternoon, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something that might sound simple, but carries profound wisdom, why your peace hurts him more than anger ever could, and why it matters to be kind to everyone. Let's begin by understanding a simple truth. Not every battle is worth fighting. Sometimes, the most powerful response you can give is no response at all. Peace is not a sign of surrender, it is a sign of strength. In a world where people often expect us to react, to retaliate, to explode, choosing calmness is revolutionary in any social setting. Be it school, workplace, family, or community, there will inevitably be moments when people will challenge us, provoke us, or even try to hurt us. Whether it's through words, actions, or attitudes, these situations test our emotional strength. In such moments, most people are conditioned to react. We raise our voices, return insults, and allow ourselves to be consumed by the heat of the moment. But there is a higher path, one that is rooted not in reaction, but in understanding. That path is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and manage our own emotions while also understanding the emotions of others. It allows us to pause, assess, and choose our responses carefully, rather than reacting impulsively. This skill becomes especially important when we are confronted by negativity. When someone lashes out at us or tries to bring us down, our immediate emotional instinct might be to retaliate. But here's the key truth: retaliation only feeds their intention. It gives them the satisfaction of knowing they've succeeded in disrupting our inner world. On the other hand, when you choose peace, when you respond with calmness and refuse to let your emotions be manipulated, you display a level of maturity and intelligence that is far more powerful than any angry outburst could ever be. You show that your state of mind is not controlled by someone else's behavior. You affirm your self-respect and self-control. This is the essence of emotional intelligence. When you remain peaceful, you are not simply avoiding conflict. You are actively choosing to elevate the conversation. This can be deeply unsettling to someone who expects a fiery reaction. They may try even harder to provoke you, but the more you maintain your calm, the more they realize that they cannot shake you, and that realization is powerful. It flips the power dynamic. The one who sought control through negativity finds themselves disarmed by your silence. This is why your peace hurts more than anger ever could. Because peace reveals that their tactics are ineffective and their words have no power over your identity. This is particularly relevant in the age of social media and digital communication, where people often engage in arguments or comment wars. Online, it becomes even easier for individuals to say things they would never say face-to-face. It becomes tempting to respond quickly and harshly. But practicing emotional intelligence in these spaces can serve as a protective shield. A peaceful response, or no response at all, can protect your mental health and set a standard for how you expect to be treated. Additionally, emotional intelligence helps you consider the deeper story behind someone's behavior. When someone is rude, dismissive, or unkind, it is often a reflection of their own internal struggles. Their anger, sarcasm, or bitterness may not be about you at all. It may be rooted in personal pain or insecurity. By recognizing this, you shift your perspective. You begin to see that their behavior is not a measure of your worth, but a window into their own suffering. This understanding makes it easier to respond with empathy, or at least with neutrality, instead of anger. Furthermore, emotional intelligence does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending to be unaffected. It means acknowledging your feelings, understanding their origin, and then choosing the most constructive way to express them. It's okay to feel hurt, frustrated, or angry, but it's what you do with those feelings that defines your character. Emotional intelligence empowers you to respond in a way that aligns with your values, not with the energy of the person trying to harm you. In educational settings, teaching emotional intelligence can reduce bullying and conflict. In workplaces, it leads to better communication and leadership. In families, it promotes understanding and reduces generational tension. Everywhere it is applied, emotional intelligence serves as a bridge to better human connection. And at the individual level, it brings a sense of inner peace that is not easily disturbed by external chaos. Developing emotional intelligence requires self-reflection, patience, and a willingness to grow. It involves asking yourself tough questions. Why did I react that way? What could I have done differently? What emotion was I really feeling, and what triggered it? Through consistent reflection, you begin to recognize patterns in your emotional responses and find new, healthier ways to manage them. Ultimately, peace is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of mastery. When you choose peace over anger, you are not giving up the fight. You are winning it. You are choosing to walk away with your dignity intact, with your mind clear, and with your heart unburdened. You are refusing to let someone else drag you into their chaos. And in doing so, you are not just protecting yourself. You are teaching others a powerful lesson. So, the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this. Your calmness is not a weakness. It is a weapon. It speaks louder than any insult. It outshines any attack. And more importantly, it reflects a level of emotional intelligence that will always place you above petty conflict. That is true strength. That is true peace. Kindness is often misunderstood. Many people grow up believing that being kind means being passive, soft, or easily taken advantage of. In a world that praises assertiveness, dominance, and self-protection, kindness is sometimes dismissed as weakness. However, this perspective overlooks a deep truth. Kindness is not a sign of weakness. It is one of the greatest indicators of inner strength. To be kind, especially in moments when it's difficult to be, requires emotional maturity, self-discipline, and courage. It is much easier to lash out in anger or walk away in pride than it is to stay and respond with grace. When someone treats you unfairly or speaks to you harshly, your instinct may be to match their energy. That's what many see as standing your ground. But kindness in those moments doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It means choosing to respond from a place of values rather than reacting from a place of pain. Kindness is active, not passive. It is a conscious choice to show respect, even when you haven't received it. Imagine two people in a conflict. One shouts, insults, and loses control. The other listens, stays calm, and responds respectfully. Which one is stronger? Many would say the louder one is more powerful. But true strength lies in self-control. When you remain kind under pressure, you're not allowing the other person's behavior to dictate your own. You're standing firm, not in anger, but in integrity. That is strength. That is power. Furthermore, kindness creates ripple effects. When you choose to be kind, you influence the emotional tone of the environment around you. This is particularly important in schools, families, workplaces, and communities. One kind word can uplift someone's day. One act of patience can prevent an argument. One respectful response can de-escalate a tense situation. And while these acts might seem small, their impact can be enormous. You never know what someone is going through internally. A harsh word might deepen their wound. A kind one might begin their healing. There is also a psychological power in kindness. When someone expects you to be defensive or rude and you respond with warmth instead, it disrupts their emotional script. They don't know how to proceed. Their aggression loses momentum. This can create an opportunity for a genuine connection, or at the very least, a pause in the cycle of negativity. People remember kindness. They may not say it, and they may not show it, but it leaves an imprint. It might not change them immediately, but it plants a seed. Being kind to everyone also teaches us something important about consistency. Kindness should not be conditional. It should not depend on how someone treats us, what their status is, or what we expect in return. True kindness comes from within. It says more about who you are than who the other person is. When you are kind to everyone, friends, strangers, critics, even those who hurt you, you are declaring that your character is not for sale. You are showing that your behavior is governed by principle, not provocation. This does not mean tolerating abuse or staying silent in the face of injustice. You can stand up for yourself and still be kind. You can speak your truth without dehumanizing someone else. Kindness does not mean being naive or ignoring reality. It means acknowledging reality and choosing a higher path anyway. You can set boundaries, make decisions, and even walk away from harmful people, and still do it with dignity and compassion. In relationships, kindness builds trust and emotional safety. It tells people that you are a safe space, that they can be themselves around you without fear of harsh judgment. In leadership, kindness inspires loyalty and teamwork. People are more likely to work hard and grow when they feel respected and valued. In personal development, kindness builds self-esteem. When you treat others with care, you begin to treat yourself with more care too. You stop carrying guilt and bitterness, and you start embracing peace. There is also great emotional intelligence involved in being kind. It requires you to manage your reactions, understand another's point of view, and remain anchored in empathy. You must think beyond the moment, beyond your own feelings, and consider the lasting impact of your words and actions. That kind of forward thinking is rare and it's valuable. When people think they can hurt you and trigger you, but instead you respond with steady kindness, it can be unsettling for them. It reveals their power over you is limited, and that reality can be more frustrating than any argument you could throw back at them. Your calm, your peace, your kindness. It all sends a quiet but strong message. I am not controlled by your chaos. I am centered in who I am. That is strength. That is victory. So let us stop seeing kindness as an easy way out or as something only soft-hearted people practice. It is, in fact, one of the hardest things to consistently do. It requires awareness, discipline, and resilience. Kindness is for the strong. It takes a brave heart to meet the world with warmth, especially when the world gives you coldness in return. But in doing so, you don't just change the world. You change yourself. You rise. There is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that takes place when someone confronts you with aggression or hostility, expecting a certain reaction, but is instead met with calmness. This response doesn't just avoid conflict. It disarms the other person completely. This concept is known as psychological disarmament, and it is one of the most powerful forms of self-defense you can practice, not with weapons or words, but with emotional stability. When someone is angry or confrontational, their mind is prepared for a reaction. They anticipate yelling, defensiveness, or retaliation. In fact, they often need that reaction to justify their own behavior. They want you to lose your temper because it validates their anger and keeps the conflict alive. But when you don't respond in kind, when you remain composed and at peace, it creates a type of cognitive dissonance in the other person. Their emotional script is disrupted. The energy they expected to bounce back from you never comes, and suddenly they are left facing their own behavior in isolation. This can be uncomfortable for them, even shocking, because it reveals more about them than it does about you. This psychological effect is not about manipulating others or pretending to be unaffected. Rather, it is about mastering your own emotional state so that you cannot be easily influenced or pulled into someone else's chaos. When you can maintain your calm in a heated moment, you send a clear message. I am not controlled by your energy. I choose my response. That sense of agency, of conscious decision-making in the middle of emotional tension, is a powerful form of freedom. Calmness in the face of conflict also has the ability to de-escalate tension. Think of arguments like a fire. Every angry word is like fuel added to the flames. But when you respond with calm words, measured tone, and thoughtful pauses, it's like pouring water on that fire. It becomes harder for the other person to stay angry. Their energy runs out because it's not being fed. You don't always see immediate results, but over time, people learn they can't manipulate or disturb your peace. This, again, is why your calmness hurts them more than anger ever could. It denies them access to your emotional core. In many cases, People who try to provoke others are dealing with their own unresolved issues. They may be projecting their insecurities, frustrations, or fears onto you. If you respond with anger, you validate their projection. But if you respond with calmness, you break the pattern. You refuse to carry the emotional baggage that is not yours. This is an act of psychological self-protection. It helps you stay mentally clear, emotionally clean, and focused on your own truth rather than someone else's drama. Remaining calm also gives you the upper hand in decision making. When you're angry or emotionally overwhelmed, your judgment becomes clouded. You may say things you don't mean, make choices you later regret, or miss the real message behind someone's behavior. Calmness, on the other hand, provides mental clarity. It allows you to listen better, to observe nonverbal cues, and to see beyond the surface of a situation. You become more aware of the dynamics at play, and that awareness gives you the power to respond with wisdom. In professional environments, psychological disarmament through calmness is a vital skill. Leaders who maintain composure under pressure earn the respect of their teams. Employees who stay calm when dealing with difficult clients are seen as reliable and emotionally intelligent. In academic settings, students who manage stress and respond to peer conflict with calmness set themselves apart. They inspire trust and create safe spaces for dialogue. In families and friendships, calmness nurtures connection. It shows that you value the relationship more than the argument. One of the key aspects of this approach is learning how to manage your internal response even when your external words are few. It's not just about looking calm, it's about being calm. That means practicing mindfulness, understanding your triggers, and developing techniques for emotional regulation. Deep breathing, pausing before speaking, and reframing negative thoughts are all ways to maintain internal balance. Over time, this becomes a habit, a way of being that protects your peace even in the most chaotic environments. This doesn't mean that you never express strong emotions. There are moments when passion, urgency, or even firm confrontation are necessary. But the difference lies in how you deliver them. A calm person can still be assertive. They can still stand up for themselves, set boundaries, and make their voice heard without losing control. Calmness is not silence. It is stability. It is the decision to rise above emotional manipulation and lead with intention. So when someone tries to push your buttons, insult you, or bait you into an argument, ask yourself, what do they gain if I lose control? And what do I gain if I stay composed? More often than not, your calmness will not only protect you from unnecessary conflict, it will also expose the true intentions of others. People will start to see who is driven by peace and who is driven by power. And over time, that truth will always speak louder than any argument. In the end, psychological disarmament through calmness is not just about winning confrontations. It's about choosing emotional freedom. It's about walking away from battles that don't deserve your energy, and most importantly, it's about honoring your peace as something sacred, not to be handed over just because someone else lost theirs. Let me know if you'd like the fourth keynote expanded as well. You said, 4 ChatGPT said, certainly. Below is the fourth keynote fully expanded to approximately 800 words in the same educational and insightful tone, with no subheadings as requested. 4. Peace as a reflection of self-mastery. True peace is not merely the absence of conflict or noise. It is a deliberate state of mind, a cultivated inner condition that reflects deep personal discipline. It does not depend on external circumstances, nor does it require the world to be quiet for you to feel calm. In fact, peace that lasts must be able to withstand disruption. That kind of peace, the one that cannot be shaken by the behavior of others, is a reflection of self-mastery. Self-mastery is the ability to govern your own thoughts, emotions, and actions regardless of the chaos around you. It is the difference between being reactive and being intentional. When someone disrespects you or tries to provoke you, you may feel the surge of anger, the sting of their words, or the urge to defend yourself. But self-mastery steps in and says, You are allowed to feel this, but you are not required to act on it. In that moment, choosing peace is not about weakness or passivity. It is a powerful demonstration that you are in charge of yourself. This level of control does not come naturally. It must be trained like a muscle. We live in a world where people often act impulsively, speaking without thinking and reacting without reflection. But a person who has cultivated peace within themselves does not fall into that trap. They understand that their energy is precious, and not every situation deserves a reaction. They know that dignity is not proven by how loud you are, but by how composed you remain. Self-mastery is built through daily choices. It's found in the decision to walk away from a pointless argument, to pause before replying to a disrespectful message, to breathe deeply instead of shouting, and to see someone's pain behind their aggression. These small decisions, repeated consistently, begin to shape who you are. Over time, you develop an inner world that is not easily shaken. You begin to experience peace not as something you chase, but as something you carry. There is something powerful and even intimidating about a person who does not lose control. When others try to disturb your mood and you remain unaffected, they often don't know how to respond. Your calmness challenges their expectation. It makes them look inward, often uncomfortably. They see that you cannot be emotionally manipulated, and that realization can unsettle them far more than any angry reaction could. That's why your peace hurts more than anger ever could, because it reveals that they have no power over your emotional state. And in many cases, people who try to provoke you are doing so precisely because they want that control. In contrast, when you lose your temper or let someone else dictate your emotional state, you give them access to your inner life. You allow them to direct your behavior, even if unintentionally. Self-mastery refuses to allow that. It sets a firm boundary. I will feel what I feel, but I will not be ruled by it. I choose how I show up in this moment. That is real power. That is freedom. Peace also changes how you see yourself. When you realize you can remain calm in situations that used to make you lose control, you begin to develop greater self-respect. You trust yourself more. You no longer fear being triggered because you know that your emotions are under your stewardship. This self-trust builds confidence, not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet assurance that says, I can handle whatever comes. That confidence becomes your shield in difficult conversations, your anchor during storms, and your compass when navigating conflict. Moreover, peace nurtures your relationships. When you master yourself, you stop projecting your frustrations onto others. You communicate more clearly. You listen more attentively. You are less reactive and more responsive. Others feel safer around you because they know you won't explode or shut down at the first sign of disagreement. This doesn't mean you avoid conflict. It means you approach it with clarity and respect. Peace gives you the strength to have hard conversations without damaging the connection. Even more importantly, self-mastery teaches you that not everything deserves your energy. Some situations are not about being right. They are about being wise. Some people are not interested in resolution. They are interested in reaction. Your peace allows you to discern the difference. It reminds you that walking away is sometimes the strongest move you can make. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every insult. Sometimes the most courageous thing is silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you value your peace more than proving a point. We often admire those who are calm under pressure, leaders, teachers, mentors, because they project a sense of stability. What we admire in them is their self-mastery. We respect those who can remain composed, not because they are emotionless, but because they are emotionally mature. They've done the inner work to separate their identity from other people's behavior, and that makes them strong. Ultimately, peace is not just an emotion, it is a choice, a daily, disciplined choice. It is a decision to lead yourself, even when others lose control. It is a sign that you know who you are, and you don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to fight to prove your strength. You carry it quietly, confidently, because you've mastered yourself. And when you reach that level of peace, you realize that no one can take it from you. Unless you hand it to them, that is the kind of peace that protects you. That is the kind of peace that speaks volumes. And that is the kind of peace that hurts those who wished you would break.